Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and yes, we are finally talking about the Belfast 43 today. The Belfast 43 was one of the many ships that received a buff and update 14.0, and she was one of the ones, in my opinion, and it appears to be in many of you guys' opinion, that desperately needed some love from wargaming. Well, she finally got it, in some pretty big ways too. And I've taken her out for a spin to see if, well, does she actually not suck now? So, if you're new here, what is the Belfast 43? Well, the Belfast 43 is a Tier 8 Premium British light cruiser. She's a town class light cruiser. She's on sale in the premium shop right now for 45 smackaroonies. That's American smackaroonies. And she was a bit of a massive letdown when she first went on sale in November of 2020. Why? Well, some things about the ship just weren't that great, and also she had a bit of a reputation to live up to. You see, there's another Belfast in game at Tier 7, which is this ship in a later configuration. Yes, that's right, this ship in a later configuration is at Tier 7. Very odd how that works. But anyway, the Belfast, when she first came out, was and still is absolutely cracked. The Belfast is hyped up for a couple of reasons. One, it's one of the few ships that Britain decided to not scrap after World War II. Didn't get the Warspite, didn't get the Vanguard served for a little bit, but then was scrapped. But either way, they at least saved the Belfast, so she's a real still historical museum ship you can visit today, and one that I hope to get around to visiting in real life. And two, the Belfast, Tier 7 Belfast, has just an absurd level of utility at Tier 7. She gets smoke, hydro, radar, all at the same time, on top of some pretty quick reloading main battery guns. She gets HE, which is very odd for a British light cruiser like we talked about in the Minotaur video last week. So she is a proper little terror down there at Tier 7. And still today, not that much radar and hydro and smoke rolled into one has been, well, introduced at Tier 7. So the ship was removed because it was too good. And then a few years later, in November of 2020, we got the Belfast 43. Many a player were excited to get this new version of the Belfast, as of course they had missed out on the original Belfast. And, it's like, okay, they moved it up to Tier 8. They changed one or two things about it, but it should still be good, right? Wrong. wrong indeed. So when she came out, she, well, again, wasn't that great. Why? Well, she had an incredibly long reload time of 10.5 seconds on her main battery guns, which is just so painful for a light cruiser to have. And, well, wasn't really that great when it came to setting fires. You only had 2 charges of radar, and yeah, not really a fantastic ship. You paid a lot for your utility at Tier 8. Now keep in mind, the ship still, of course, had radar, had hydro, and had a short burst smoke. So you lost the normal smoke screen, and you got a short burst smoke. So you couldn't just sit in your smoke and farm with your radar arm like you could with the Tier 7 Belfast. The smoke is more for getting out of sticky situations, and maybe you could kind of get a little bit of farming done in it, but again, it's a far cry from what you see with the Tier 7 Belfast, and of course with other light cruisers at Tier 8. So yeah, she did get her torpedoes back though. The Tier 7 Belfast does not have those. So you pay a lot for what you got in terms of utility. And, well, it didn't really pan out. Now, keep in mind, too, this is all on a British light cruiser, so you have basically no armor. If any large-ish caliber shell finds your Citadel, you're pretty much going to get Citadel'd, right? And it's going to hurt. So it's a pretty painful experience. Now, fast forward 4 years later, Wargaming finally got around to giving this ship some love. They decreased her main battery reload time from 10 seconds to 8.5 seconds. Earlier, they had reduced it from 10.5 to 10 seconds, but now we got a whole second and a half drop. That's a pretty significant change. Then they upped her fire chance on her shells from 9 to 11%, That's another massive change for a light cruiser. And you might be thinking, well, it's only a 2% change. It's only a second and a half quicker reload time. Is it really that big of a deal? Oh, yeah. That's a huge deal in this game. They also buffed a turret traverse by 4 seconds. Instead of taking 25.7 seconds to rotate, it takes 22.5 seconds to rotate now. And they gave her an additional charge of her surveillance radar. So have all these changes that Wargaming has done to the Belfast actually improved it. And keep in mind too, even with the within the context of this dev blog, this is one of the larger set of changes a single ship got in this buff package. So after playing the Belfast 43, well, I'll tell you this for sure, it sucks a lot less now. I will say that. The quicker reload time on the guns was greatly appreciated, as is the additional charge of surveillance radar and the increased fire chance. Although I still run IFHE, so I can get over that 32mm pin value, and well, that still knocks it down to, with the fire flag, 6.5%. So keep in mind, if you don't go with IFHE, you go with the full fire build, Demolition Expert and the flags, you'll have a 13% fire chance on your Belfast, which is pretty good. But I usually like to go for the IFHE and the more consistent damage via pins on my light cruiser, so that's just how I play it, so keep that in mind too. But yeah, the reload is much better, the fire chance is very much appreciated too, and as is the additional charge of surveillance radar. However, some things never change, and the short burst smoke generator is, it has its uses. It definitely does. It's great for when you're accidentally detected. You can pop it and, run and disengage. It's great for, being a little cheeky, sneaking out from behind the island that you're currently hugging, getting a couple of opportunistic shots in here and there. But of course, at the end of the day, you still can't sit in it and farm like you can with the Tier 7 Belfast, like so many other cruisers at Tier 8. Now, of course, there's the argument that, well, you are paying for, again, having radar, hydro, and some form of smoke all in one cruiser, on top of having now a pretty solid reload time and torpedoes on one ship. That is very much true. And when you look at it from that angle, it's like, okay, for what you get on the ship here, it's not a bad deal now. However, this ship was first introduced in 2020. It's been a pretty interesting couple of years since 2020 in World of Warships, right guys? We have a whole hell of a lot more gimmicks at Tier 8. There's quite a healthy amount, shall we say, of radar present at Tier 8 now as well. And Tier 8, of course, getting up tier to Tier 10 really sucks. And at Tier 10, whoa, lots of things have happened at Tier 10. Battle cruisers, more radar, crazier cruisers have been introduced at Tier 10 throughout the years, especially since 2020. So when it does get up to Tier 10, which of course happens quite often as it is Tier 8, yeah, that's not great. That's not great at all. Whereas the Belfast, the original Belfast, has a little bit of an easier time dealing with Tier 9 games because it does have, a traditional smoke screen and can at least sit in its smoke and farm. Belfast 43 can't really do that. And sure, you can still try to hug an island and use that, which is, something that will work. But of course, right now with the Dutch light cruisers being in early access, that's an adventure trying to hug an island and farm at this point because, well, that's what the Dutchies love for you to do. So that's incredibly annoying. But it is more comfortable. It is definitely more comfortable to play. And it's still a Tier 8 light cruiser. Doesn't have a heal. I think if they gave it not even like a super heal, just some type of heal, I think that would be a little bit better. But at the same time, too, you have to consider that this is a ship that can be top tier. This ship can see Tier 6 ships. And at that point, with all these buffs, oh yeah, this is a pretty formidable ship for any Tier 6 ship to come up across. I mean, you have the radar, hydro, now a pretty decent reload time on your guns, and an improved fire chance. Yeah, that's something that's pretty tough to deal with as a normal Tier 6, not one of the cracked out Tier 6 premium ships. But at the same time, too, now, when you get double up tiered, it's just like, oh my god, you know, with all you have to deal with at tier 10. So that's just, I mean, each and every tier 8 ship has to deal with that, right? But it just kind of sucks more in the Belfast 43 when you get double up tiered. But to answer the question, does it still suck? I don't think it still sucks anymore, but I don't think it's something you should really go out and drop $45 on. I mean, there's still plenty of better tier 8 premium cruisers that you can spend your money on. Way better cruisers. Otago's still like the best tier 8 premium cruiser in my mind, right? That's a much better investment than the Belfast 43. But, you know, if you pick it up either on sale or you pick it up in a container, you don't have a terrible ship anymore. It's not a Tiger, right? It's not a Tiger 59. So there is that. So, you know, it wasn't much needed buff. It's comfier to play now. But I don't think it's enough of a change to really be like, hey, you know, go out and buy this now. Maybe if they did give it, maybe a crawling smoke would be better. You know, it's still not the traditional smoke where you can just sit there, you know, in this huge cloud and farm away. But, you know, maybe a crawling smoke, you know, that I think that would be a better option for it than the short burst smoke. Because, you know, like the British destroyers, they use a short burst smoke to disengage, you know, reposition themselves, then attack again. Belfast 43 can't really do that. It's not that quick. It's not that stealthy. So, yeah, I mean, that would be about the only other thing I could see them doing to it that would maybe make it a little bit better. The heal, I mean, I just tossed that out there thinking off the top of my head, but now thinking about it, dealing with tier 6 cruisers and tier 6 ships, yeah, I think that might be a little bit too much. So, yeah. I mean, again, if you get it in a container, I think you've got a decent little ship here, but again, not worth going drop 45, you know, almost $50 on at this moment. So guys, that is the Belfast 43 after her most recent buffs. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful, whatever day of the week this is coming out, and hope to catch you guys in the next one.